Today we are talking self-service and reporting in iServer365 with Stanislav and Julia from our consultancy team. As we all know, it's the end of the month and the end of the quarter, so I know that I, for one, personally will be having a lot of reports to do, so this is hopefully of great value to all of you.
And we'd like to start perhaps with why we are talking about this topic today. Overall, what's the main theme? And we recognize that in today's data-driven environment, there is a widely known hunger for insights. So what we should do next as a company, where should we be investing, in which areas of our portfolio we should rather cut on costs and so on. And in any business, basically, large or small, there is always a C-suite or with stakeholders that constantly need to take decisions. And they need the right data and in the right form at the right time, preferably, to guide them in the decision making. And we know that many enterprise architecture teams struggle with the data gathering, processing, and then presenting their insights. We know that can be not very easy, but we do know also how to make it easier with the right tools, as well as some tips and best practices that we'd like to share with you today in this quite limited time, but we'll do our best. And since our topic is self-service and reporting in iServer365, we will be talking about reporting dashboard solutions that you can easily deploy on your own, selecting the one that suits your requirements specifically, and through the user web interface available to all iServer365 customers called Solutions Hub, which is a 360-degree offer providing prepackaged, ready-made solutions that augment your iServer365 environment and with the capabilities around automation, collaboration, integration, and reporting, as well as reference content to accelerate the realization of the key use cases that you are interested in, and from the data gathering to presenting the data-driven insights. And below on the slide, hopefully it's visible as well for you, we've provided a link to read more about solutions across various categories that I've just mentioned. And today we'll focus specifically on some of the reporting solutions, and we'll guide you through the end-to-end flow of publishing a report by yourselves at Solutions Hub, as well as overcoming some of the common obstacles that we've observed some customers might be still having over the years of experience. But before we dive into just a quick note on where to start. So where a team begins its reporting path, data gathering, type of reporting, and frequency, all of this will depend on their unique circumstances. So for example, there could be a team, just a newly established one, which is lacking resources, standardization, and tool understanding to even start a simple data gathering exercise. Another team might be having only a foothold in terms of enterprise architecture, information management. They received a number of requests already from their peers. They managed to run a data collection exercise, but the data is still sitting in the Excel spreadsheets and requires still a bit of manipulation, a bit of massaging before it can be used inside of the EA tool. But time is taken usually, and teams want to capitalize on a successful data gathering exercise as soon as possible. And finally, there could be a team that already has a well-defined meta model, governance process, and deep integration with other functions inside of the organization. And for them, leveraging the out-of-the-box reporting might come second to leveraging the iServer365 API capability, for example, and the flexible meta model configuration that enables wide support for more advanced scenarios. And today we'll focus on the second scenario, but at the same time, simultaneously covering all of the essential parts, in fact, of the report publishing. Because, after all, there are core processes that needs to be happening, whether it's your first report that you're trying to publish, or if you've already deployed dozens of the reports. And before we dive into, I'll be handing over soon to Stan to actually walk you through the end-to-end flow of how you publish the report. We'd like to have a quick glance at some of the most popular reports that we have, each of a bit of different complexity level in terms of the data that you would need to gather in order to generate those insights. So very much quickly on a high level, the first one that we found very much common is an application portfolio core report pack that uncovers your first insights for your application portfolio management in the iServer365 and providing an essential overview of the details that are related to applications and the portfolio. And this one comes as a low level of complexity because it consists of a set of separate, like smaller reports on the different topics, like application categorization, or for example, how applications are supported by business capabilities. So this is like a sub-report that is a part of this larger pack, or how application cost is structured based on the license, maintenance, and support cost, and so on. So here, if you only have a subset of the data available at the moment, you should already be able to launch the report, start generating some of the insights, and then keep enriching the data within your repository to have even more of them. And then I have just a quick overview of how the meta model is looking like. So in the middle, yeah, we do have application, and then adding those additional meta model elements like application categories, capabilities, as well as location would just allow you then to drill down into even further insights. So that's why we often do recommend to start with a report based on the data that you have at hand at the moment, and then use those generated insights to generate further, more advanced reports that we will actually as well have a look at the moment. Then briefly, the second common one as well, another common one that we have observed is the business capability map visualization. So this one provides an interactive view of business capability model with a dynamic heat mapping on key business capability attributes, which is maturity, strategic importance, people score, process score, as well as technology score. And as all of the reports that we run based on the data that you have in your architecture repository in iServer365, diagrams like this really save you time, as you don't have to do any manual updates as compared to the static diagrams. So as changes happen in the repository, they are directly reflected in the report. And this one is like from low to medium level of complexity, since in order to have the capability map itself, you only need to gather and connect your capabilities. For the richer insights, though, you can gather those mentioned attributes like maturity, strategic importance, and so on. And we also have some assessment solutions available at Solutions Hub to help you in gather and evaluate those as well, just by filling out the quick survey that you can leave on the SharePoint and gather inputs from your colleagues. And then once collected those insights, you can also connect as well, in fact, capabilities and applications and organization units later on, which will then also provide you a possibility to drill down on a specific capability level. So all of this also being available within the same report. So it will be like a second tab, capability details, allowing you this drill down overview as you have more data available. So for this one, the meta model would look like this. Would require 3 levels of capability, and we will also mention what if you don't have all 3 levels, so how to overcome is one of the obstacle. And then as you add more, so you see the dotted lines are those like optional elements that will are not necessary to be able to publish report, but will give you more insights if you do have the data in place. The last one before we go to that end-to-end flow, and I'll hand over to Stan, is the most complex out of these 3, which is application portfolio insights. It's more complex because it relies on quite lots of data. So most of the data is most hungry, as we say, the report for the data. Hence, it might not be the best option for someone who is just at the very early stages of the data gathering and maturity. But once you do have this data in place, so this report also provides you several of different tabs, like sub-reports. The insights, for example, providing an executive summary of key business questions and answers about your application portfolio, like what it consists of, what is our cloud migration strategy, what are our standardization opportunities, and so on. And then you have several sub-reports as well, such as, for example, if I click, we have as well application landscape, also a predefined visualizations of the applications grouped by business capabilities that they support, and also highlighting you can switch between filters from lifecycle view to the strategy view, cloud migration view, and so on. So the heat mapping, the visualization would also change accordingly. So for that, as I move to the data, to the meta model slide, you will see that one, yeah, it involves more data to be in place, to be available, to be in the good shape, as well as the attribute information, so the metadata against applications, capabilities, and so on. So these are like the overview of the most common ones. But yeah, how does the process actually look like? How do you publish the report, and what is required in that process? I'll hand over for that for that part to Stan.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Yuli, can you hear me? Just to check.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Well, hi, everyone. Hopefully everyone is having a nice Friday. Once again, apologies for the technical issues that we had with publishing this report. Starting the webinar, actually. And let me just share my camera. Okay, I can see myself now. Okay, so there's a lot of things to discuss here, but we try to condense this information about the end-to-end flow in a kind of like one slide, so we don't have to jump too much here. And what I would want to start with is just the originating part. The request for a report or a specific solution, it might come from a few different sources. So one of these might be one of the business stakeholders having a specific requirement to see the footprint of your applications on the business capabilities or the process landscape. It could be that the request is actually coming from an external source, like a new legislation similar to GDPR or operational resilience, which is might be something that is actually kind of happening for a few years, but you never know exactly when this will happen, and you might not be prepared for it internally. So you might need some help with that. And another way is the EA team itself might actually be the originator of a specific request. And the EA team might decide to calculate the fit or the technological burden of specific components that they have. Whatever the origin of the request is, the Solutions Hub self-service platform is designed to help you with that. So what you would do is you go into an exploration phase. So from the origin, from a bunch of these requests that you might have, you would navigate to the Solutions Hub platform, which I will show later. And in the Solutions Hub platform, you have a number of filters that help you to filter by keywords, by free text search, by different types of the solutions that we have. So what we're trying to do is we try to make sure that it's easy to find a solution that you need, because there's more than, like, I think 160 at the moment. So they're continuously being updated. And at this stage, you will encounter the Core EA meta model for the first time mainly. So this is basically our twist on the meta model. This is a pre-configured meta model that your team can use in order to power reporting, data gathering, integration type of solutions. So it's like a guardrails for a new team. You don't have to know a lot about our methodology. You don't need to have certifications in TOGAF or Archimate, but you can actually start from Orbis's methodology, and a lot of these solutions are pre-configured that they make an easy, smooth journey for you. So that's why you would encounter that the Core EA is used for a lot of these. And now you explored a couple of these solutions. You found the ones that you like. You go into the kind of like setup phase. In the setup phase, you will find that all of these solutions, they have business-friendly descriptions. So all of them are defined in terms that business can understand, what type of benefits they are bringing. But also the important part is that these solutions actually have something called the publisher notes. And I will emphasize here that a lot of people, they kind of skip through the documentation. I think we all have that. So I would actually recommend to kind of read through that documentation when you're on that kind of self-service publishing journey. The documentation covers everything end to end. So it covers actually the technical, the business requirements, how you need to structure the link if you want to integrate with something. Is it an automated solution? Do you need to do manually something? It covers everything. But most importantly, between explore and setup, you will notice that some solutions actually are designed to assist one another. So if you need to collect data for the report, there's actually a solution that helps to collect data. You integrated ServiceNow into iServer. There actually is a solution that helps to visualize your technology assets. So you need to kind of play around. You don't need to use Excel or Visio or manual input all the time. part about self-servicing is that a lot of the solutions, they are actually kind of bouncing from one to another and helping to run themselves. So from the setup, you go to deploy. And the important part is that when you deploy a solution, when you've typed all of that information, you can actually run it multiple times. So if you don't have enough data, run the solution, check if it gives you any errors. It can happen, but also it can publish these reports. And you might notice you have some empty pages. No worry. Now you basically know where you are. And you can rerun the solution when you have more data. Depending on the solution, all of them will have some tweaks and changes when you add more data points. So you're basically getting a bit more mature, getting a bit more data, running it again, looking at the result. You deploy the solution, you're not sure if you have enough data. Once again, don't worry, it's not surfaced to the business instantly. You can hide it because it's published to a SharePoint, so you can hide the page, you can restrict access to that page. If it's an integration, probably only the admin will see it anyways. So once you get to the publishing process, you published it, you've exposed this to the business. Once again, it's something that you can iterate on. You have more data, you have more scenarios. That's when you can rerun the solution and update it with some new settings. So if we go from origin to the publish process, I think that two things that I would emphasize the most, or maybe three, is the core EA methodology is in there to help you jumpstart this. So you don't kind of go around and you don't understand where to get this data, what are the definitions, what are the relationships that you need. The explore phase and setup, read through the publisher notes. Make sure that you understand what is actually required from you, what are the maybe showstoppers in terms of publishing that solution. Once the solution is active, you can always run it again. It's not something that you activated once and then it just sits as it is. It's actually a flexible type of thing where you can edit the settings, run it again, and then expose it to the business. Okay, so that's it for the deployment part. Okay, and we'll proceed to a small demo. We don't have a lot of time for the demo, so we'll try to cover quite a few points in here. So what I will do is I will actually try to read through the requirement settings for one of our reports, actually helping you to understand how to navigate to the solution hub. Okay, well, we found a solution. Is this all that I have? Or maybe there's some additional documentation. I'll show you some Excel files with data inside and how you might improve data gathering from the Excel. I'll show you some data inside iServer and explain a bit about the iServer functionality itself. Then I will also explain another Solution Hub solution that Solutions Hub solution that helps to gather data. It's an intake form. So as I said, these solutions basically are designed to help one another. So you don't have to have too many people spend too many resources on collecting information, publishing something. It's quite dynamic. And at the end, I'll cover a bit about Microsoft Forms as well and how could you import data that you have in Excel. So I'll try to share my screen now. Hopefully we won't have any issues with that. Okay, myself. And where is the button here? I think. Oh, struggling here a bit. Give me just a second. Okay, I want to show this part. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so we're inside the 365 interface. So this is the web client. Most of you should be familiar with this by now. If you're someone completely new, just joining for the first time, this is basically how the web client works, the EA repository. Now, from here, you can navigate to the Solutions Hub platform by clicking on this button here at the top, and you will have the Solution Hub here. It's deployed when the iServer is deployed, so this is a way to navigate there. And this is how the Solutions Hub platform looks like. It's similar to a lot of different marketplaces that you can encounter online. So that way it's kind of designed where you have a bunch of applications in the middle and then filters that help you to find information. So the solution that I want to show you today is a reporting pack that Yula mentioned before that, the application portfolio core. And I'll explain why I would try to find that. So I will use two things here. I will just type application. I will scroll down to the bottom of the page, And what we have here is we have different solution categories, which I think you should actually also explore a bit, because there is a difference between all of these. It's not only about reporting, it's data gathering, calculation, notification. It's a lot of the stuff that you have in here. And I'm actually interested in reporting, so I'll just filter this stuff, and I will get everything that has application and that falls under reporting category. As you scroll through these, just kind of track with your eyes the small descriptions that you have. The keywords in here might help you to understand, okay, this is the one that I'm looking for. It sounds like something that I might need for a given use case, like in this case, basic application portfolio management. You click on the image to open it. Now, as it's loading, basically, typically you would see the information about the solutions that are involved, like different applications that are used for this. It's SharePoint mainly and Power BI for this one. So what I see here is the business kind of friendly definition of what I will get if I publish this. So some business benefits. But as I mentioned, the most important part is the publisher notes. And I always recommend users to actually invest a bit of time in here, kind of linger around, read through this stuff, because even though it's a self-serving platform and we want you to actually be able to kind of empower yourself to publish these solutions, to activate them so you can move on your own pace. You don't need to ask us in terms of, okay, I need these insights. You can actually do this yourselves. It is a bit challenging for new users. So our small but capable team of people that manage this platform, they are actually spending quite a bit of time to ensure that you have the system requirements. Okay, so there's two things involved in here. What are the type of credentials or things that I need to know for these systems? Do I need a specific user, a specific type of permissions? We can go through the usage instructions, which basically covers the process step by step. So it tells us, okay, step one, this is the type of information that you need to input. Has some examples in here. And a lot of the times you'll be fascinated. Some people, they just have an extra forward slash, an extra space, get a lot of like a bunch of scary error messages, and they think that the whole platform, something is not working. They feel confused, but that's why you have all of these examples in here. So just follow that kind of methodology inside. Now, as you scroll through, you'll notice that some of the kind of questions that you might have if you publish some of these reports, or people tend to have is, okay, I have dollar currency inside, but we use euros or we use pounds. A lot of that is something that you can do yourselves. There is no need to involve additional consultancy time, spend effort on that to just kind of change it. You actually have capability to flip that yourselves. Now, as you go down, all of the steps are covered. And it's also mentioned that the solution, it refreshes itself. So you don't need to run it automatically. But I mentioned that you can also run it yourself. So it runs once a day, but if you just imported data recently and you want to fasten that process, you can actually run it again manually, and that's okay. So you don't have to wait for the solution to refresh, but if you just keep it alone, it will refresh by itself once a day anyways. Now, what I want to do is I want to scroll up. I might not have enough information for collecting the data. I don't see object attribute data. Another page will actually cover more details. But if I just scroll down, I actually will get a model, which is quite important for me, and a PDF guide on how the solution works. Once again, what's the business benefit? What type of data do I need to fill in the Excel sheet and collect the data? So we can go in and we could see that, okay, the application component, which is basically the crux of all of this, requires all of this type of information. Now, why this file is useful as well is that publishing the report is one thing, actually socializing it, making people use it is actually a bit more challenging. So if you scroll down, there is actually even a Power BI guide. So for new users, how do buttons work in Power BI? What are the types of navigation and search that are available in this report? Can users actually drill down into an application to get a bit more insights into the data? So this guide covers a lot of useful information for business users that previously didn't use Power BI. Even if you're a developer and you use Power BI, it's just good to know what types of functionality are covered. So what I do with this file, typically, if I have a team of new architects that are trying to publish, I ask them to send this file during the setup, deployment, and publishing step to the users that will actually consume the report, because that will help them to appreciate, okay, these are the questions that the report is answering. This is the data that I can expect to see in the report. And I know how to use the report. So you can just take this file and distribute this as a part of publishing the report, because some people might just not know how to actually even navigate within the report. So let's say that you look through these requirements. The next step is start to collect information. And you can do this in a couple of ways. I'll just go back here to the Solution Hub. I will focus on the two primary ways, the SharePoint intake forms and the Excel files. For the Excel files, I will actually open this one, which is the default data gathering sheet for Excel that helps to collect information specifically for application portfolio core. You can request these and support or consultants will send you over. We have a lot of these for most of our reporting solutions. What it does, it gives you pages to fill out objects, attributes, relationships, explains the structure and how this report works. Now, what I think users have problem with is they think that they shouldn't customize this because they might break the way the import works, or the file is maybe designed in a specific way. So if you remove one page, the others don't work. That's actually not the case. I would actually recommend that you amend this file based on your needs. So what I have here is the same file where I just made basic changes that can improve the data gathering speed and just kind of in general fix some communication gaps. I've simplified this to application portfolio, removing strategic and core parts. If people are not familiar about what these mean, they might confuse them. Yep. Another thing is I've deleted the about page, doesn't add anything to people that need to fill it out. It's useful for admins that try to understand what this file does. Then if I go to the glossary, I know that my team is actually using Archimate and is not using TOGAF. So the Core EA meta model is aligned to the Archimate meta model. I've deleted the TOGAF part from here just to not confuse users. I also always change the example names to the names that are related to the business that the client is working in, to the industry. So we pick some common app that everyone knows. We pick some examples of application functions or categories that are common for this type of business. We pick a capability that might be known to the organization. We pick a location where the head office might be. So flip everything to something that users are familiar with. Takes a couple of minutes to do, brings a lot of benefits. Attributes. By default, you see all of the attributes, like 14, 15, 12 attributes. You know that you might not have all of them. You also know that you might not need all of these attributes, because if you don't have lifecycle dates, you might skip them. Maybe you don't need lifecycle dates at the moment because you didn't manage lifecycle before. Remove the attributes that you don't need from this list. This confuses new users, this confuses architects, because sometimes they think that everything is mandatory. The mandatory part is having the objects and relationships. That's the critical part. Attributes, it's really good to have, but you have a bit of a leeway here. You can do multiple imports and you can import attributes as they become available. I always add an image if I have the time to, if I can, because this explains the data model. People are kind of sometimes confused. Okay, what does capability level 3 mean? How does it look? You know, some people are just visual. They need an image to actually understand that. And then, yeah, I have some objects inside, just filled in some data in here. I have my types, I have my data. A lot of it is empty, which is fine. A lot of the time, a lot of your data will be missing during the first and second import. That's why you can iterate the solution. You can run it multiple times, more data becomes available. You shouldn't be afraid of that. Yep. So just try to think about these Excel sheets as something that you can tweak. They are more of something that is an inspiration for your team. How can you construct an Excel data gathering sheet? This is a small tool that you can tweak. Now, let's say you've collected all of this information. What happens then? So let's say you've imported it into Excel, from Excel, sorry, into the 365 client. What I recommend is create a set of public views and filter these public views by fields that are required for the report. So let's say you want to publish 3 different reports, and you know that for each of these reports, you need 3, 4, 5 types of data. For each of this type of data, create a view that is filtered only by attributes that is required for this report. When you open this view, you will see visually how much data you're missing. Users can now start adding this data manually in here. And it's a nice way to understand if you open a view and it's empty, you did a mistake. You didn't import enough information. Maybe you've imported it under a different type. You can see the gaps in your attributes. So for example, I know how many owners I'm missing. So use the views to basically structure each report in iServer before you publish it. It just helps to maintain the data in the future as well, because reports might even have some owners in your organization. So I have a view that covers the location part as well. I have a view that covers the application function. I'll stay here for a second just so people can focus on this. And there's also the application, 3 levels, and then application add-on, so capability by location. So having these views just helps me to import from Excel, validate an iServer. The report will refresh automatically anyways, but I can maintain the data now from the tool. So I can kind of skip Excels if I don't want to keep using them. Now, what about more business-friendly, maybe dynamic ways of importing information? You go to the Solution Hub, and from the Solution Hub, you can build an intake form. So what intake form allows you to do, it allows you to basically add an application name. So let's add some dummy application name. Maybe an app like this actually exists even. You can type an owner for this application, select the attributes that you want to link, and most crucially, you can actually even set up relationships to objects that already exist. So the more people add information, the more powerful the intake forms becomes. Because if I click here, I will get a list of all functions that I have. So I could say that it's for product drafting. I could say that it's for a specific finance capability. I might even say that I know the deployment date because I'm the owner and we went into production, let's say 2 weeks ago. So the intake form is based on your requirements. You can construct it. It's basically like a Lego block thing. And then people can use SharePoint to populate data. I click save. Hopefully nothing breaks. And then we just have this Click Pro working here, sitting and waiting for the upload. So the admin can decide to upload automatically or upload manually. So that's up to you. So another way to get the data into the tool, skipping the Excel. You can mix the two if you want to. Now, the final thing, being cautious of time here, is you have the platform for reports, you have iServer, you have Excel, but all of that can actually integrate with tools which it is not integrated with, if it makes sense. So we use Microsoft. What we can do is we can construct a simple Microsoft form to collect information. Oh, need to log in here. Why would you do that? Well, a lot of people know what Microsoft Forms is. It means that anyone can set up one, and you actually have cool features like you can send to specific people outside of your organization that don't have access to your SharePoint or to like an Excel on your OneDrive or something like that. So Forms is a nice way to do something. Yeah, you can collect responses. What people don't know is that when you collect these responses about, I'll quickly go through here, build type, production date, capability links, just some text fields. And I actually have a question, did you use any other data gathering method? So I know if potentially we have some duplicates. It will actually build an Excel for you. It will build an Excel with all of these responses. So as people fill out these Microsoft forms for my report on the Solutions Hub platform, I'm getting this Excel populated with a lot of data. And what I can do at the end, I can see that there are 2 buttons that actually integrate with iServer because we have the add-in sitting right in Excel Online. So it's not a direct Solutions Hub integration, but it's you got the demands from the Solutions Hub, you got the requirements. You go to the Microsoft Forms, you build something, and then you leverage the integration we have with Excel. And once again, you do this all by yourself. So just knowing that you can integrate with Excel already opens up some options for you. Just leveraging these 2 tools, build an Excel file, send the form, collect the data. Yep, Yulia, so this is all from my side on the practical demo part. So hopefully this was useful just to give you some options around how you can import data into the tool.
Cool. Thank you, Stan. Yeah, I'll just grab control back just to confirm if you can see as well the slides. Hopefully you do.
Loading up.
Perfect. Yeah, we are coming closer to the end, so just wanted to summarize with probably a couple of, well, before we summarize, a couple of points that we've noticed as the obstacles that customers might be having when they are trying to deploy the report from Solutions Hub. One of them, for example, yeah, we are missing some essential data points. So what do? Orbis report provides 3 levels of capabilities, what we saw on that meta model previously, but we only have 2 well-defined levels. So to fix this in a very easy way would be to, for example, add a capability tier or a grouping as the level 1. And then, well, you can, here I have like an example of strategic. You can sort your capabilities or group them into transformational, strategic, operational, and basically kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I hate it saying, however, but adding more dimensions to your data and as well publishing the report. And once you do establish like this 3-level hierarchy, you can switch out the object grouping in favor of some simple attribute, for example. So this is like one example of the common obstacles where you can just get a little bit creative to resolve that. Another like simple one, if we require some technology or application category object, like that application categorization report, smaller one does require that, for example, but your organization has no experience defining this. So what do again? So here you can always refer to some of the open standards online. And many organizations and governments are trying to publish their EA reference models and sometimes even keeping them up to date. And locating this can help you and your team to get the process rolling while also learning, in fact, about what your peers are doing. And after all, something like categories are often similar across different organizations and industries. Have more examples, but maybe let's go just to the second common one when you struggle with the data gathering, although Stan has just covered that to a very great extent. So how to improve that, how to gather this in a quick way. Yes, we do have those Excel importing sheets that are structured already in the right way for you to just use that Excel button within the add-in button within the Excel to import that. You certainly can skip the template creation part, but yeah, when something does require customization within the template, if you wish to share across the template for the inputs to the team, yeah, you know them better than anyone does. So it's then totally possible and recommended to customize the template to make it straightforward and intuitive for your team. So Excel spreadsheets, those intake forms as well that we've mentioned that are placed there on the SharePoint side, so you don't need to worry about leaking or updating your repository content without your consent. And then there are choices to either update your repository, your application data with the responses, or you can have a full control of, manually updating that when you think that you've got enough of responses so far. And the last one that we've also seen as quite common one, like we have some unique data points that are missing from our meta model. So here, an important note to understand is that our reports are designed based on our experience working with clients in various industries and standards bodies. However, it's quite common that organizations do have unique properties and fields that they do need to manage besides our recommended ones. Could be very much the case if it's some organization under some very specific legislation that is there just within that company for that specific industry. So customizing that, so extending the reports by adding some unique data points, or even building a custom report from scratch once you did realize what is that you are as well needing in terms of attributes, in terms of objects. This is all possible. Just talk to your account manager about organizing the report scope and call. The rest will be basically on us. So here also, don't forget that iServer365 comes with an API available out of the box. So if your organization also has some BI and API skills, we can also provide a brief user training of the tool, as well as share documentation on the API to get them going and to come up with a fully customized report as well on your own. Last one, the very final thoughts, just also hand over back to you, Stan, for some summary of what we've discussed. cannot hear you at the moment. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I was. Thank you. So just to have some final thoughts, it was a kind of a small, tidy session on this part, but fix the communication gaps. I think a lot of the stuff when you need to publish these solutions or have some collective effort, they fail when you just have some miscommunications. For example, what does an application mean? So is Chrome or Microsoft Edge, is that software component? Is that a productivity tool? Is that a business application? So if you need to collect something, you need to be really specific about what is that we are collecting. Did we agree as architects about what is our landscape? So here we actually, on the knowledge base, we have a content matrix. The core EA definitions are also available there. So that's kind of our view. But within your organization, you actually have to spend a bit of time to negotiate between different architecture teams. Okay, what are we doing? How are we collecting this information? Does this methodology fits us? Whatever the Orbis is like providing us with, do we understand how that works? And the self-service part, that's why the publisher notes, additional info, PDF guides, knowledge base, all of that kind of wraps up and provides you information from kind of like different perspectives. Then just to kind of emphasize on what you touched a second ago, it's understanding the difference about custom and out-of-the-box solutions. It's a self-service platform. It's plug and play. You click a button, most of the stuff works. You might need to add 1 or 2 attributes, but there's a guidance on each of these and why you have to do it. However, if you have unique requirements, it's probably better to use the report as an inspiration and then request a custom build report. So there is a thing that is already working. If it's missing 1 or 2 fields, you can publish it and it can help you to jumpstart your initiative, kind of prove that, okay, we're able to do X, Y, Z, some stuff is missing. Now we have a bit of a foothold, we have some agreement with architects in business. Let's ask Orbis to build a custom report that matches what we need. So just use that stuff as an inspiration. And then the final one is just don't be afraid of the solutions hub in general. You can publish the solutions multiple times. You can restart, republish the solutions. You can collect the information multiple times. It's not a one-off exercise. I think a lot of users are afraid that if they publish something, or if they import the data once, it's kind of stuck and then the solution will not refresh, or they won't be able to reset a solution, if that's a correct way to say it, but that's not the case. So don't be worried about the Solutions Hub, how it works. You can run the solution multiple times, you can restart it, and there's quite a bit of documentation to guide you through that process. Yep, that's it, Klaus, up to you.
Thank you very much for this. This was incredibly useful, at least for me. We just have time for a couple of questions. Again, sorry that we had about our technical difficulties in the beginning. That if you have any further questions or really good place is our community on LinkedIn, and here you will have access to pretty much every member of the team, and we answer questions as they come in. So that's a really good resource for everyone. Well, I'll just answer a couple of the questions that we've gotten so far. I'll ask them, and then Stanislav and Julia can answer them, hopefully. So the first question is, how do I connect Power BI to iServer tables/data/API to build my own reports? I think that's something that's of interest to all of us.
Yeah, I can pick up on that. Ideally, we need to maybe I'd need to maybe share a screen if I can too. But let me show. Oh, can I change myself to presenter?
Let me do it.
Yeah, I can. And then I want to show the clean screen. Okay, so there is 2 ways to do it. As Yulia mentioned, if we have your email and Klaus can probably provide us, we can send you an API guide. So that's the more difficult but more productive way in terms of how much stuff you can do. But if I go back to iServer, and assuming you know how to create the views from the public views section, this means that you can generate a table, and this table can contain objects with different filters. It's up to you how you're going to filter this by. And it can contain links, which is the most important for Power BI, because you need the dependencies and the flows between your data, because sometimes the catalog by itself is not enough. Simply click on this button, which is download, make sure that the view is public, and generate a live link. copy this as a web source or as a data feed into Power BI, and you're good. You can start building reports. It's a live link. It will refresh as soon as you refresh or add something in iServer. So you don't need to manually kind of ad hoc kind of push any updates. So the public view in the details, you can do that. But you might need to like a quick user training session or just refer to our guide or the knowledge base if you get confused about how the views work.
Also, we can post a quick little guide on the community. This is, as I said, a fantastic resource for this. Yeah. So we'll have something up shortly to respond to this. The other question I think we have time for is, what if we want to create our own solutions? How do you go about doing that, especially if wanting to integrate to other systems using the API and or other automation? Also, what if OOTB solutions don't provide the data at the required level of granularity? How do we create our own custom visualizations?
Well, I mean, the short answer is we will share the API guide, as I mentioned. Next phase is we can have a consultancy session with some of the people that work on the Solutions Hub developers. So we have a BI team and we have an API team that can provide as a part of the consultancy service some recommendation and guides on how to use API, how to leverage that. So that will probably be the second one if you're not familiar with the API and the guide doesn't provide you enough information. The last part is actually one that we mentioned a couple of times. If the report doesn't provide enough granularity, it doesn't fit exactly your needs, which is completely normal, that's fine. Basically, unless you're building your own solution with the API, you can refer to the consultancy team. We can take the report that you like, build some wireframes, build some interactions like how it needs to work, and we can build a custom solution for you. We'll scope that out, but you have two ways. Read the API guide and build a solution yourself. We will publish it for you to the solution as hub if we are talking about Power BI, or refer back to your account manager, get some consultancy time, and if it's something more advanced, we can build it for you from scratch.
And I think that's all we have time for today due to our small technical glitch earlier. We do again apologize for that. This webinar will be available in a follow-up email shortly. As a link, easy to access, and you can refer back to it. We'll also be answering the questions again on the community. And if you have any further questions, obviously feel free to reach out to any member of our teams or me or your customer support team or your customer success manager, also a great reference for this. Another way to access the recording is via Hive, which is a great way of getting access to a lot of our various different learning and enablement resources. If you don't have access to Hive yet, make sure to have a chat with your customer success manager, and they will get to you as soon as possible. That usually take a couple of minutes. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed our reporting webinar for today. And happy Friday, and happy end of September, beginning of October. So yeah, happy autumn to everyone. Have a good one. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.